Hello and welcome to the Business of Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rosenberg. Over the years, I've had the privilege of helping businesses in the meetings and event industry grow and succeed. And I'm excited to share that experience with you. If you feel alone and overwhelmed, and if you're looking to take your business to the next level, improve your strategy and sales, and connect with like-minded professionals, you are in the right place. I invite you to visit eventbusinessformula.com and join our community of event business owners dedicated to exponential growth. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. And today, we're all wondering what's going to happen for small business now that there's a new administration. We're all wondering what's going to happen for small business in terms of M&A. Some people want to sell their business. Some people want to buy businesses. And I couldn't think of a better expert than my friend Ami Kassar. Ami has created MultiFunding. He's going to explain to us in a few minutes why he is so qualified to talk about it. He's a member of EO, is the president of the EO Philadelphia chapter, and all around an amazing human being with a very dry humor, of which I was in the target already, and I enjoyed it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Ami Kassar, thank you for being here, Ami.
Thank you for allowing me to tease you right through this. So let's go.
Here we go. We haven't started yet. I'm at the hot seat already. That's phenomenal. Don't forget that in French, Ami means friend.
Okay. We'll see when this is over. Okay.
Exactly. So tell us just a little bit about MultiFunding as you created the company and you've been to this roller coaster of owning your own business. And now you're in is it the top 7, top 5 of companies that are producing SBA loans in America?
So we started in 2010. I lost my big fat corporate job. I was the chief innovation officer for the largest issuer of credit cards to small businesses in the United States. And we had about 1 million. You've heard the story before, but 1 million customers, 1,000 employees, and about $1 billion worth of market cap. And we completely decimated in the Great Recession. I got let go by the bankruptcy trustees on a Friday. Before it was my turn, I helped let 960 people go, which is something I hope I'll never experience again in my life. And then I got laid off. I went to the bank. I deposited a check for my full home equity line of credit, and then went home and told my wife what I did, and I started MultiFunding on Saturday.
And the rest is history.
Listen, I'll tell you the core of our business, our core value is to help entrepreneurs find the best possible debt solutions so they can stay in control and grow their companies in a responsible way. So you can think of us like an investment bank for debt. And it wasn't really the intention at the beginning because we didn't really know what the hell we were doing. But 95% of our work is now with the SBA. That might change over time, but we find about 95% of the time that SBA loans are the best possible solution for the entrepreneurs, at least that we serve.
Amazing. And before we get to that, you said something that resonated a lot with me is about the core values and defining your core values. So all the people that I'm coaching, the small business owner in the meetings and event industry, one of the first session that we have is about defining the core values and being able to hire and fire based on that. So can you share maybe 1 or 2 examples where actually...
We have a very simple core value. It's really just one. So we treat entrepreneurs like we want to be treated.
Amazing.
Okay, so I would never give someone advice I would never consider for myself, period, end of story. And our whole team is built around that value. And if people don't fit into that, they get out. Our culture is pretty interesting, with very few exceptions. People either last 3 months or they never leave.
Amazing. Again, it speaks to the importance of core values. And I know, because I know you, because I've been in the hot seat and I've seen you helping people, you never, ever shy away from asking questions. What is it that the person wants to achieve? What is their level of risk that they can tolerate? And it's never one solution for all.
I want to, in my next life, start a Sleep 5,000 award. Did I ever tell you this idea?
No.
So Inc. 5000, where we celebrate the fastest growing top line companies in America, is like, in my humble opinion, like the dumbest thing. Why do we celebrate top line growth? What does that have to do with the price of cheese? Really, half those companies blow up, right? Half the people that really make that top 50 or the top 500, they just blow up. 8,000% growth, 12,000% growth, like it's not sustainable. So I want to start the sleep 5,000, which will mean that say you hit a revenue target of $2 million, then you'll agree to wear like one of those loops people wear to track their sleep, like an OODA loop or something. And then whoever sleeps has the highest sleep scores over a year, they win.
Brilliant.
Because they found balance and they sustained their company and they lived a healthy life.
Love it. We had a conversation with some of the coaches of EO Accelerator that I belong to here in South Florida one day with Greg Crabtree. And
Huh?
Greg came and I asked him what he think about this ranking. And he said exactly the same. It's just measuring the top line. Obviously, you need something to measure, but you're not measuring profit. You're not measuring anything else. And it's sometimes a big issue. And to your credit as well, I remember you wrote, in line with your values, you wrote a very impactful article about why you were stopping to write for some magazine or some environment that we're actually just looking at that top line, but not really helping entrepreneurs. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
So maybe for those who don't know SBA, so if you own a small business in the meetings and event industry, actually in any industry, what are the basic qualification to be American, or do you have to have a green card? What is the
You have to be at least 51% owned by an American citizen, or a green card is okay. And then it really is for any business. It's a little confusing to people. It's a government guarantee program encouraged to allow banks and some non-bank lenders to make riskier loans than they otherwise would. And so typically if the loan defaults, the bank can go back to the government for 75% of the loan value. And so this is it's an incentive to try and drive economic growth. Where people get confused about SBA loans, it's got a bad brand problem, kind of like EOS implementers. So you go to your bank to get an SBA loan, but if your bank says no, it doesn't mean you're not qualified. It just means that that bank doesn't like the loan. But there were last year like 1,450 financial institutions that did SBA loans, even though there really are only about 100 who actually know what they're doing.
Wow, you're shooting at everyone though today.
Well, you got me late at night, Eric. So what do you want?
Very good.
Hard truth comes out, and I just got off a plane, so and I
Yes.
didn't get upgraded. So
What's happening? What's
same.
happening?
So it's all good. Doesn't matter.
When Ami is not upgraded, you know that the world is in big trouble. So,
Sometimes there's some seats, for the record, some seats in the back of the plane are better than the first class seats.
so let's talk a little bit now about people looking at acquiring a business. It might be a strategy to growth, or it might be someone leaving a corporate job and want to buy a company. What do you see in the small business M&A world? I know they were very high multiple 2 years ago. There was a lot of people that were dreaming probably of selling their company for a big amount. And now, on one hand, you have a lot of business that are cash thirsty. And on the other hand, you have a lot of dry powder from a lot of investors, a lot of private equity. What is the situation in the market for that? And what do you see the year 25 for anyone who would want to sell their business or who would want to buy a business?
It's a big, complicated market. And I think that, first of all, if you're in the business of selling a business, you have to get real pretty quick about who your target buyer is. Most businesses are not targets for private equity or strategic investors, and that's okay. So, and that's a very different market than if you're going to sell your business to an individual or a group of individuals or to somebody else who wants to take over your business. So understanding and getting real about kind of who your target buyer is and what your likely valuation is for your business is a super smart thing to do. And I see it happening in forums all the time where somebody sold their business to a private equity or to big, large, like a strategic buyer, and they had an investment backer, and they did this and they did that, and they got a high multiple. And then they think that the other guys or women in the forum think that the same's going to happen to them. But every business is different and every business is on a different trajectory. So you should get really clear about that. And if you're selling, I think you should sort of have a good handle on what your number is that you would be willing to hand the keys over. And I always say that that number should be a cash at the closing table number, not the second, third, fourth bites of the apple. Those could be great, but you can't count on those. So what is your hard number that you would be willing to walk away from with at the closing table? And getting a handle on that before you start the process of trying to selling. And it might not be the right time. Your business might be too small. You might need to grow it more before you're ready to sell to get to your number. So setting some reasonable expectations about what it is you're looking for, I think is a really good idea. Now,
Awesome. And if you're looking to buy a business, how do you see 25? I don't think that the rates are going to go down dramatically and not very, very quickly. But what about the multiple? What is your opinion on that?
so look, if you're looking to buy a business, and I'm going to suspect that most of the people listening to the show who are considering buying a business are probably an individual or a group of individuals. Is that a fair
Yes,
assumption?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So then, if that's what you're looking to do, your buyers are most probably going to use an SB. Unless they're big cash rich buyers, are most probably going to use an SBA loan to buy your business. And that's a very different game than selling to a private equity firm who might buy it at 8x or 10x, or sometimes you hear these crazy multiples or a strategic. If you're using an SBA loan to buy a business, the lender by law is going to be required to order an appraisal of the business, which is based on cash flow. And they can't lend you more money than the appraised value of the business. And so very rarely does an SBA loan business go for maybe more than 4.5 times EBITDA. And that's designed to protect the borrower and it's designed to protect the lender. And so if you are cashing up on some sexy thing and hasn't made money for a couple of years, but you think you're going to let it make money and this and that and blah, 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 probably not an SBA. Okay. So we're largely in the business of selling cash flowing, profitable business. And there are a lot of them for sale. It's not easy. I was just running the stats on the plane coming down here. If you want to know, some of my stuff got deleted, I think, but SBA in fiscal year 2024 did, hold on, I'll tell you. Not that you wanted to know, but now I'll give you some nerdy data, okay?
Let's go for it.
SBA in 2024 did 5,000 change of ownership loans.
5,000 companies that changed ownership.
Yeah, flipping the business, right? And of those, to give you a sense of it, 2,000 roughly were transactions between 1 million and 5 million. 1,200 were between 500,000 and 1 million. About 1,000 were between 250,000 and 500,000, and about 660 were under $250,000.
So there was none above 5 million because of the limit of the SBA.
Yes, the limit. Now, it could be that some of those loans are pari passu loans. So the SBA loan is 5 million. There's an additional conventional loan attached to it. We just don't know that. But the SBA part The SBA part is $5 million. So it would be interesting. I should go and look at the data to see how that compared to 23 or 22. Wow. But
Right.
that's the market.
Do you think it's going to improve, stay the same, diminish in 25?
Look, it definitely feels like we're pushing into I call it a Trump bump right now.
Okay.
But usually those are honeymoons. It doesn't matter the party, they're usually a honeymoon. Okay.
Right.
So usually businesses, we had a very tough year in 24. And a lot of entrepreneurs really struggled in 24. Q3, we had our worst quarter in 8 years. Nothing could come together. And so it feels that generally some people are feeling a lot more optimistic, but there are also a ton of businesses right there, which also is an opportunity where the P&Ls are really upside down. So about half the P&Ls we looked at last year, the profitability for 24 compared to 23 was just upside down. And so that also creates opportunities if you have the courage to kind of do a turnaround, but they're more difficult to fund. So I do feel that there's more optimism out there. Hopefully it'll be a more business-friendly environment. It's very difficult to know what this new SBA administration is going to do. They have some tough decisions to make. SBA in the Biden administration, they let go a lot of the guardrails in the program to make it easier for much smaller businesses to get money faster and for fintechs to get involved in the program. And as a result, we are seeing early stage defaults spike really high.
That's interesting because I remember you said that over a year and a half ago, if I'm not mistaken, summer 23, the SBA roughly, it's if you put 10% down, they would lend you 90%. And then at that moment, they change and they say that the 10% down could actually be the sales, the seller note that can be counted as the 10% down. And you were like, this is insane. This is crazy. I know you were testifying or called in Washington.
That's just a mild thing that they did. Okay, they took out, they added a bunch of things and changed affiliation rules, and they really tried to make it much simpler for fintechs to be able to do small SBA loans, and made it such that the fintechs did not have to follow the same rules as the banks had to follow. And they stripped out a lot of the requirements to like present business plans and projections and things like this. So I've seen some examples of businesses who took more money than they should have ever gotten their hands on, and they blew through it. There is a discipline in entrepreneurship to fighting it out with a low budget. And if you get your hands on money, I mean, I met a woman, my heart broke for her. She was lent like $500,000 to start a consulting company. What do you need $500,000 to start a consulting company for as a one-woman person? And she was like 18 months in. Her revenue was like $100,000 and she was out of money.
But how could she get a loan in the first place?
That's the new rules. And so now, and then she was about to take one of these crazy merchant cash advance loans to be able to get for her last shot at a different marketing strategy. I'm like, you can't do that. That's a whole other story. Like all these alternative lenders out there that would be happy to lend you money at 60, 80, 100% APRs. It's just crazy, including lenders on the Intuit platform, which is insanity in its own right. So
that's terrible. I mean, one last big question, and I know that you need to take your crystal ball for that. But looking at the economy in 25, looking at what we know could happen, but they have no certainty with tariffs, no tariffs. We look at the interest rate, we look at inflation. Which sectors do you see thriving in the next 12 months? And which sector would you look at if you were looking to buy a business?
You know what? I'm not going to punt on your answer, but I have no idea. Okay. So it's very difficult to predict or really understand, first of all, what is Trump going to do and not going to do? He's not going to do it all. He's not going to be able to do it all. The courts are going to stop him. Okay. He's going to do 30% of it or 40% of it. And we don't know which 30 or 40% of it. And a lot of it is posturing. So there are businesses out there that are worried. Like there are businesses out there that rely on, I hate to say it, a lot of illegal labor. There are businesses out there that heavily rely on imports from around the world. It's very difficult in certain industries to have a crystal ball and understand what all this means.
Yeah.
So I just kind of say, you gotta just hold a steady hand and keep tight. What's going to happen to interest rates? If he really goes through all these tariffs, what's that going to do to inflation? It's almost like I say after COVID, like all this pontification about what was going to happen to the economy and this and that and the other. I'm like, you don't have a clue. And no one
Right.
will really, including Trump and his buddies, really have a clue what all this is going to mean. Yes, it makes total sense to cut a lot of spending out of the federal budget. There's a lot of waste. I don't think anyone disputes that. And that's also money that's getting poured into the economy. That will cause some things to slow down. So it's very, very difficult, in my opinion. I hope it's all a smashing success. Okay. I really do. But it's very difficult to have any kind of a crystal ball as to what it's all really going to mean. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes total sense. At the beginning, I thought you were answering like a politician, but you're absolutely right, and you're on point. So yeah, there's.
I don't usually answer questions like a politician. I really don't. I haven't read one economic forecast in 2 years because I think they're all full of shit.
Interesting.
Right? How do they know? Like, tell me a time in history where governments printed trillions of dollars to keep people alive and off of hunger lines and to keep banks solvent and this and that and the other. And printed probably 30% more money than they needed to, but it was probably smarter to overcompensate than undercompensate, overcorrect than undercorrect. Tell me how anyone really understands the economic implications of that. We saw a lot this year of companies run out of their COVID money and then
Yep.
suddenly be in real trouble because that whole safety net just went away from them.
Mm.
They were feeling fat and happy because they were running on idle money or PPP money or ERTC money or this, that, the other. Meanwhile, all their costs were going up and they didn't really realize it. And then suddenly that safety net was gone or almost gone. They're like, I'm in trouble. So we are still living through COVID dominoes. And now we have some Trump dominoes that we're going to take into effect.
I got the Hillsdale College online. I got the course given by Laffer, Laffer, if I pronounce that or not. But the Laffer curve. And it was fascinating. First of all, it's extremely well done. I watched it like a Netflix series, although it's economy. But it was explaining that basically the idea is in the history, the less the government get involved, the better the economy is.
I agree. But you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yep,
You
exactly.
just don't know how this is all going to go. I mean, there were, I don't know, a couple hundred executive orders yesterday. I don't think anyone understands what all that means yet. And they're not all going to go through.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll stop somewhere.
So I would say, listening to you, I have two conclusions. Tell me if you agree with it. The first one, it's urgent to wait. And the second one, there's never been a better time to be your own boss, to have your own business, because at least you can try to navigate a little bit and you can have a little impact and make correction faster than depending on an
I just
organization.
tried to say, focus on what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control.
Amen.
And it is what it is. And the business is still going to be there and the economy is still going to go and this and that and the other. What exactly is going to happen? I don't know, but many businesses will thrive and grow in all kinds of industries. And if you have a business that you're passionate about, jump in and go for it.
Wonderful.
There's never a great time.
That's right. Ami, how do people get in touch with you?
Happy to chat at www.multifunding.com. I have a daily blog called amisites.com. You can check it out and find me on LinkedIn, wherever, and happy to always help anybody.
Wonderful. My last question: when we see each other again in 1 year with a bottle of champagne, what are we going to celebrate?
Hopefully, we will celebrate. I don't know if this is an appropriate thing to say on this podcast, but all the hostages will be home.
Fully agree with you. Wonderful.
We'll see.
Thank you. We'll see. Thank you very much, my friend, and good luck with everything, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Business of Meeting podcast. I hope you found today's episode valuable. If you enjoyed the show, the most important thing you can do is leave a review and share it with your colleagues. It really helps spread the word. I truly appreciate your support. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, don't forget to visit eventbusinessformula.com to learn more about how we are helping even business owners like you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.